All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Thursday meeting, June 4th, 2026, of the special meeting of the Glendale City Council being called to order at 2:01 p.m. Let's have a roll call, please.
Yes, council members Asadrian,
Here.
Brotman,
Here.
Karpetian,
Here.
Najarian,
Here.
Mayor Kasakian.
Here. Please read your report.
The agenda for Thursday, June 4th, 2026 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on June 2nd, 2026 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. This is another meeting in a series of meetings for the budget study session. This is budget study session 4, the follow-up items for from budget study sessions 1 through 3. And I will go directly to our Director of Finance, Mr. Lang. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian, member of the City Council. As you mentioned, that this is our budget study session number 4, and I am just going to quickly go over today's plan. Today's budget study session is specifically designed to follow up on any items that is still open. First of all, we have a list of additional appropriation items that came to our information after the budget proposal was developed. So we're going to go over the list of items that has came to us after that. And then we'll provide a quick fiscal year 26-27 updated budget summary based on this additional item that came to us as part of the proposal. And last but not least, any items for further council discussion will be covered at today's meeting as well. So after that, we have June 23rd scheduled for budget hearing and adoption. So that is the next steps of our budget process. With that, I will hand it over to Mr. Mantes to go over the additional appropriation items after budget proposal with us.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian and members of the City Council. I'll be covering the list of proposed changes to the fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. So there's one change in the general fund, and that's in the fire department. So on May 19, Council approved an amendment to the professional services agreement for EMS billing services and fire inspection services. So based on that agreement, they requested an additional appropriation for fiscal year 25-26 for $159,000, as well as an additional appropriation for fiscal year 26-27 in the amount of $75,000. So these have been incorporated into the proposed budget for next year. In the non-general fund, community development.
Mr. Mayor, could you please explain this? I want everybody to understand that this is an increased appropriation, but the revenues on the other side of it that we get.
Correct. So the contract is for billing services, and it has the PPGMT revenue coming in that's offsetting the cost of the contract. And there's also the inspection fees for the Fire Prevention Bureau programs. So there's 4 changes in the Community Development Department. 3 of them are in the Homeless Services section. So in the Continuum of Care Grant Fund is something that we normally don't include as part of the proposed budget. And part of that is based on when they receive the award letter. And also when they need the appropriation. However, HUD made a change last year where now it's a 2-year NOFO, which means that any project that was approved for 2024 automatically renews for 2025, which means that we're getting the award letter earlier than we normally would. Also, some of the projects normally start prior to July 1st, but staff submitted a no-cost extension, which basically shifted the start date for all of the projects to July 1st. So now that the grant cycle is in alignment with the fiscal year, now we're able to include it going forward. So the total award for the Continuum of Care Grant Fund is about $3.4 million, which is slightly higher than the award for fiscal year 25-26 of $3.3 million. So the slight increase is due to fair market rent adjustments. In Measure H, so this is a quarter-cent sales tax that was replaced by Measure A, effective April 1st of 2025. So originally, staff was anticipating that we'd continue to receive Measure H funds through fiscal year 27-28, but the board is only approving funds through fiscal year 26-27, and that's the $300,000 that they're appropriating. But if there's any leftover budget at the end of the fiscal year, then they can carry it over to 27-28, but there's not going to be any additional funds moving forward. For Measure A, that's that half-cent sales tax that replaced Measure H. So the award for fiscal year 26-27 is about $467,000. At this point, the county approved the contract to allow the city to use the funds for the Emergency Housing Voucher Transition Plan. But if that doesn't materialize, then we would have to go back to the county and request a contract amendment and then go out to RFP for use of those funds. The last change is more administrative in nature. So the San Fernando Corridor Tax Share Fund, it's currently housed in the Community Development Department. However, it's Public Works that manages all of the CIP projects. So by shifting the fund from community development to Public Works would be consolidating both the project management and the reporting side of it under one department. So the additional appropriation that you're seeing of $1,050,000 for the Faircourt Lane improvements projects, it was originally requested under CDD, so we're just shifting it to be under Public Works. So it's not an increase, it's just a shift from one department to the other. We do have one decrease in the Community Services and Parks Department, and this is for Nutritional Meals Grant Fund. So originally, staff had anticipated that they would receive an award of about $714,000, but based on the final allocation from LA County, it's closer to $560,000. So they're basically aligning the budget with the actual award letter.
Question.
Yes, Councilmember Garpetian?
So, was the nutritional meal plans that we have, is it the one for elderly that we deliver on once or twice a day? So does this mean that we're going to reduce the service from compared to last year, or how does it work?
No, so the award for 26-27 is consistent with what they received in 25-26. Staff was just overestimating the award just in case it came in higher. But it's pretty similar to what they received in 25-26, so there's no change.
So 550,000, pretty much this year.
Correct.
550, it was last year.
Yes.
So by
Similar.
reducing this amount, we're not reducing the number of meals that we're delivering.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Continue, please.
Okay. So Glendale Water and Power is requesting to increase their budget by $7,280,000, with $7 million of that being in the Electric Works Revenue Fund. And they're basically increasing the appropriation for their interest on bonds by $7 million. And this is based on the payment schedule for the third tranche of the electric bonds. So by including the additional $7 million, it would bring in the budget for interest on bonds to $33 million. They're also budgeting $250,000 in the Waterworks Revenue Fund. So for time to time, there's Public Works staff that does work for their water projects. So staff is under Public Works, so if they do project for GWP, then GWP needs to add the appropriation so they could charge into that department as well. The last change is $30,000 for general supplies related to the water customer repair projects. So these are 100% revenue offset. There's no impact to the ratepayers. Lastly, Public Works, they received an additional $500,000 in the Measure R Regional Return Fund. So this was just approved by LA Metro, and it's going to be used for the Dorn Street and Broadway Brazil grade separation project. So the current project budget is around $350,000. So adding the additional $500,000 would bring it up to $850,000. And the last change is what I had previously mentioned for community development, where we're shifting the fund over to Public Works. So the total change across all the adjustments is about $11.8 million, which has been incorporated into the fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. So this basically brings the budget up to $1.29 billion for fiscal year 26-27, and that's about a $52 million increase compared to fiscal year 25-26. So this table is what you had seen previously during study session 2. All we've done is incorporate those changes. So the main changes are in Glendale Water and Power. Originally, we had presented our budget of $475 million. Now it's $482. Public Works increased slightly as well as community development due to the additional grant funding that they're appropriating. As we can see, out of the $1.29 billion budget, about $377.7 million is in the general fund. We had also shown this previously. The main increases are mostly in the capital projects fund. That's that 60 million that's going from the landfill post-closure fund to the Section 115 trust fund. Other changes are within the enterprise funds. There's just basically less capital improvement projects in both the sewer fund and the electric depreciation fund. So not necessarily reflecting less being done, it's just that the existing CIP projects are going to carry over to fiscal year 26-27. And we've also gone ahead and updated the general fund budget. Like as I mentioned, fire did have changes, so we've incorporated the additional appropriation of $159,000 to the revised fiscal year 25-26 budget. And then we've incorporated the $75,000 additional ask for fiscal year 26-27. So based on this, the total proposed budget for the general fund is about $377.7 million. And like we've mentioned before, we're only expecting budget utilization rate of about 97%, which would put us of expenditures based on forecast at $365.9 million. Here's our updated general fund forecast. There's only slight changes. So fiscal year 25-26, we're projecting to end with a surplus of 3.4 instead of 3.6 due to that additional appropriation. Fiscal year 26-27, we're ending with a deficit. We're projecting a deficit of about 2.2 million. Other than that, we haven't made any changes, but as you can see, we're still projecting deficits in the next 5 years. And we're expected to dip below the policy minimum in fiscal year 29-30. That concludes my presentation, if there's any questions.
Okay, now, I know that there's a number of, well, are these, are we completely done with everything, or no, there's additional? Okay, yes. So before we go to that, I noticed that there's some very special guests we have in the chambers today, and I'd like to give those folks who took time out of their busy schedules to come join us on this afternoon session, opportunity to speak on items that are, I believe, going to be discussed. So maybe we'll hear from the public, and then if there are no objections from my colleagues, and then we can continue with our discussion. So if you are here to speak and you wish to submit a card, or, you know, the way to speak is you get a card from the back and you hand it to the city clerk, and then we call your name. So my first speaker is Laura Dominguez, followed by Emmanuel and Alexa Dominguez. You will have 3 minutes. Please come up to the podium. Welcome to council chambers. State your name.
State your name.
Hello, everybody. My name is Emmanuel Dominguez, and I am a second grader who absolutely loves to read. I love stopping at Adams Little Hill Library on my way home from school. I love to check out books and borrow books from the other libraries. Walking in and seeing the books we've waited for is so exciting. Books instantly transform me far away and typical places. Reading is so much fun. I absolutely love all the fun activities like scavenger hunts and robotics and just fun times. I love talking to and getting book recommendations from our librarians. Please don't close our library. Remember, you were once a second grader too. We love our community, and our library is part of it. Keep it open. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, Emmanuel, before you go, Emmanuel, what's the best book that you last read? What was a really good book?
Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh, Lemony Snicket? All right, yeah, I've heard of that one. I hear that's good. I haven't read it yet, but awesome. I'll have to check it out. All right, thanks for coming. Appreciate you. Is Alexa going to speak as well, or are you Laura?
I'm Laura.
You guys can speak in whatever order you'd like.
She wants her mom to go first. She thinks I'm
Oh,
embarrassing.
okay, got it. No worries. Do you want to stand by your mom to give her some support while she's speaking up here? All right, there you go. I tried, Mom.
Greetings, Mayor and council members. So I'm Laura Dominguez, an Adams Hill homeowner. We purchased our home as a newlywed couple trying to start our family, and the Adams Hill Community Library, the parks and school were a determining factor for us to buy our house and start our family. So now you met my second grader, and you'll meet my fifth grader, who absolutely love to read and enjoy walking to our community library. They absolutely love talking to the librarians, getting the book recommendations, and borrowing books from other libraries, a new service that is offered through our community library. As stated in the Child Mind Institute's website, reading to children builds language skills, vocabulary, and general knowledge that helps children learn more effectively in schools. Books help children develop empathy and emotional regulation by providing opportunities to discuss their feelings and coping strategies. Reading together creates a connection between parent and child, and the physical contact actually boosts the brain receptively to learning. As stated in the National Assessment Governing Board's website, in 2024, the reading scores of our nation's students declined, adding to a decade of declines. So, ladies and gentlemen, at a time that our nation's youth reading scores are declining, closing community libraries is not the solution. In fact, it will exacerbate other problems. As stated in the previous meetings that I watched through, thank you for assuming them, and the Glendale City website, the general fund's total budget, okay, I have a disclosure. I am not a finance person. My undergraduate and graduate degrees are in healthcare. So this is my understanding from your meetings, and the general fund's total budget of $3.77.6 million, which the city pays for general services, including our libraries, right? So a decrease of $46,300 from fiscal year 2026 to 2027 due to the closure of this library. When you divide that, that means that only 0.0001% of the total general fund budget. So my concern is, if it's such a small portion of your general fund budget, why are we going to close down a library that serves over 20,000 children? You have the children of that community here talking about how much they love their school, their community library. It's 0.0001% of the total general funds budget. In other words, the consequences or negative impacts to our community, if you choose, and that's you guys, if you guys choose to close our library, they far outweigh the city's savings. Now, from what I understood the consultant saying at the last meeting is that this budget deficit problem kind of initiated about 20 so years ago, long before these children were born. So kids, fifth graders, this is your civics education portion. People in these positions who make decisions about, my time's up. But please don't close the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Who wants to come up next? Is it Alexa? All right. Hi, Alexa. How are you? I see you brought friends. Thank you. Welcome.
Excuse me. Hello, my name's Alexandria Dominguez, and I'm a fifth grader. I've come here today to ask you to not close the library connections. As you see, and all my friends here, we love the library. It's a great place. As my mom also said, the libraries, we need libraries, because as you heard, the reading levels are decreasing and decreasing. You need reading to live life, actually. As I was seeing, I was doing some research, and so reading, it helps you in school. School helps you get a job. Jobs let you have money. Money leads to having a good life. Kinda. You need happiness, but money too, to buy houses and stuff.
Good argument.
So reading, if you take that away, there's gonna be a lot of problems, right? So I think we really actually do need reading, and it's a really good thing. In my school, I am one of the top readers, and I love reading so much. Oh, and all my class, I have so many signatures here. I couldn't get the whole school because it was busy, but I have a lot of signatures, and as you can see, friends, and we all agree that you guys shouldn't close the library. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I get that you guys want to save money, but seriously, a library? There's so many poor kids out there that need to read. Oh yeah, you guys want to see the signatures.
Thank you. That was a very good
see.
suggestion.
A lot. I wish I had
Your
a bigger
advisor
paper.
is leading you, is giving you good advice there. Thank you.
So, the library, please don't close it.
Thank you, Alexa.
It just doesn't make sense to close it. And as she said, it's very little. It won't make too much of a difference. I also really like going to that library because the librarians are nice, and if you take away that job, they're not gonna have a job. Poor librarians, they love that job. I can tell. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexa.
Yeah, they all love it.
Alexa, what's your favorite book?
My favorite? Harry Potter was really good. Percy Jackson was too easy. I'm trying to read Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was kind of boring.
No. You know what? Time's up. Turn her time off. She said Lord of the Rings is boring. You have 10 seconds left.
Well, please don't close the library. Just please. Please.
All right, thank you very much. Next speaker is Henry Fay, and Alexa, start with The Hobbit. That's the gateway to the Lord of the Rings, and then you can go from there. Mr. Fay, you'll have 3 minutes.
Henry Fay is my daughter, and she's on her way here from school. Could you put
Alex
her at
Fay?
the back of the list?
Oh, there you are. How are you, Commissioner?
Hi, how are you?
All right.
Thank
so
you.
You said,
She'll be here in 2 minutes, so if you go to the next speaker and
Okay.
come back to her.
all right. Robert Wagner, followed by David Binsley. I won't be asking all the adults their favorite books, so they'll be here forever. So just kids. Yes.
Well, Mayor Sakian, board members, and fellow Glendalians. I'm Robert Wagner. I've lived on Adams Hill for 45 years. We bought our starter house there, and it's probably going to be our finisher house. And I remember what a breakthrough it was when we were able to get the library, the satellite library on Adams Hill. The site had been a drugstore for years. It was vacant for a number of years. And after quite a push, we got the library. The library is for our children, and that's who we should be listening to. I speak as an aging baby boomer who still enjoys getting their news in print form. So we've got the LA Times, we've got the New York Times, we've got the Wall Street Journal, and it also gets me out of the house every now and again. So that's my interest with the library. It is a question of economics, of whether a budget can afford it. But then again, how do you put a price tag on young children learning how to read? So that's my pitch. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate you. David Binsley. I know we're going to be inspired by a lot of the speakers, but if I can ask everyone just to hold their applause so we can get through this. David Binsley. David here. Followed by Herbert Milano.
Welcome, council members. I'm also a member of Adams Hill, and the library is a very important resource. I'm a senior retired person, and there's a sense of community there. There's after school programs with children. There's adult painting classes. And I'm asking if there isn't any way that the budget cuts or something could be in other libraries, so at least Adams Hill could be open 1 or 2 days or something. It seems sort of unfair that we lose that library completely after 18 years. And I've been using that library for 18 years. And it's a great thing that you can order things from the central library and then pick them up there. And like Robert said, all the news. You know, getting a New York Times now is very, very difficult in this town. But yet you can go to the library and it'll be there for you. So I just hope that you give it some more thought, and maybe it's possible that you could work something out. Yeah, because it's a beloved institution in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to also just state that, it's all right, Mr. Beasley, this is just general announcement that after Mr. Milano's done with his comments, we won't be accepting any additional cards because we're about almost 30 minutes into the meeting, and by now Everyone who wanted to speak should be here and should have submitted a card. There's always other ways to convey your views to the council. We've been receiving a lot of emails, quite a few of them about libraries. So this is just one of the ways to let us know how you feel. We appreciate you being here, but in the interest of time, after Mr. Milano has completed his comments, we won't be accepting additional speakers. We have more cards here. We're just not going to accept more additional. Thank you very much, Mr. Milano.
Mayor Kasakian, members of the City Council. As you know, I have been following the finances of Glendale for about 25 years, and I'm inviting this City Council to engage the services of the California State Auditor's high-risk local government agency program to review and give you an unbiased situation on your finances or the finances of the city. On April 24th, 2001, in less than 60 seconds and without any input from the treasurer or finance or anybody, the city passed a pension increase to fire and police that gave each individual then employed about an additional $1 million each in additional pension, such that their retirement at age 50 could easily be $3 million for individuals in the rank and file. Not to say this, the police chief and everybody else. In 2005, this city council made an increase of 25% on the rest of the employees, thereby increasing the city's debt by roughly another $1 billion. $1 billion that went for safety, another $1 billion that went overall in the past 25 years. And now, finally, after 25 years, it has come to this. All the delayed and postponed infrastructure, they're coming to you now. All the delayed infrastructure that wasn't put into the water and power, that was transferred to the general fund so you could pay CalPERS, that's coming due now. So now you have about $3 billion worth of obligations, long-term obligations, and now you don't have enough cash. You have finances in shambles, and it's been going on gradually year after year, and I've been speaking during all these 20 years precisely about that. And that's why I think that you need a truly independent commission or committee or someone from the state auditor so that we can get a clear assessment of what has actually transpired. Some of the information many council members simply did not know because you did not know the accounting necessary to understand it. And I saw it right here in person because I've been the one consistent person coming to these budget study sessions during all this time. And it is incredible for me to see children coming in to appeal for a library, services that are basic that we've been coming here for years, fixing the roads that you haven't done for 40 years in my neighborhood and in many neighborhoods of the city. Parkland that was absolutely necessary and placed on the element, the documents in your planning doc completely ignored. But yet, three council members who got reelected supposedly with the help of fire and police unions are now indebted to ensure that their overtime doesn't get reviewed, their nepotism doesn't get reviewed, their budget doesn't get scrutinized. And I think we need a change. And these children are proof of how all of that neglect is impacting them now. Thank you very much.
Wait, Mr. Milano, before you walk away, you said, what was it about the parkland, the comment, the last one that you made?
Yeah, the park and open space element of 1998 explicitly stated that this area of Glendale, Recreation Planning Area 10, was the most deficient area of parkland.
So let me just answer something. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You are aware of the money that the city spent to purchase the Joann's Fabric site with the intent to build a park there, correct?
Absolutely. And
All right.
Mr.
Just want to make sure that we're dealing with the same. I understand. I just want to make sure that we're all dealing with the same set of facts.
The national standard for parkland is to be within a 10-minute walking distance of your home.
I don't disagree with that standard. Thank you very much.
All right, let's make sure that it is clear.
Aaron Dinan? Sorry, Aaron. Followed by Alexandra Lazar.
Okay, thank you. My name is Erin Dinan. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us today. I'm the mother of two of the kids that are here, and I wanted to talk about the library. I won't repeat about books, but I will answer that my favorite book is actually, that I've read recently, is called The Underground Library, and I actually took it out from the specific library that we're talking about while taking my kids there in the summer reading challenge. And so I wanted to tell you that. And I also wanted to share that these kids not only made signs, but they actually walked around our entire neighborhood and they collected signatures from people of all ages, people with like babies in their arms, people that were older members of the community. And I just felt like I wanted to give them a moment to honor that they really took this seriously. And the signatures that Alexa shared, this was done completely by the kids because they really love this space so much. Beyond reading, it is a community hub. And I just want to emphasize that I think that the communities in South Glendale are just as important and just as special as the communities in North Glendale that get so much more than our kids get within walking distance. And it really doesn't seem fair to even consider something closing, which is one of the only safe spaces for families. Like, we'll send our kids to walk there by themselves. We live 2 blocks away. There's only a few spaces, businesses in that community where they can even enter safely that actually belong to them, besides the parks, which are amazing. And thank you for the Joanne Fabrics expansion as well as the amazing parks we already have. But for me, I wanted to show you how much, I mean, they have like, I don't know, 100 signatures between them. They got their principals, the school librarian, the neighbors, and they really made an effort to go out and talk to people about what the library means to them. So I just wanted to speak on their behalf. Mine are a little more shy than some of the other kids, but they really put themselves outside of their comfort zone because they wanted to stand up for something they believe in. And I want to stand up for it too because I think our community is really special. I see new families moving in every day. This library is within like a block from John Muir Elementary School and several other elementary schools that are in walking distance that don't have the same services that so many other neighborhoods in Glendale have. So I ask you to keep our library open, and if anything, expand what we can safely enter in our own community within walking distance so that we have a thriving community that's safe for our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So
Thank you, Ross.
Alexandra Olin Lazar, followed by Annalisa. Last name starts with a W. I don't want to mispronounce any other last names.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having us here today. I am Alexandra Olin Lazar. I am actually the PTA president of John Muir Elementary School, and I'm here representing Friends of Muir, which is the John Muir Parent Foundation, and PTA who support our wonderful school in South Glendale. Erin was my predecessor. She was the president, and we both had attended many meetings with other elementary schools, PTA meetings monthly, and we understand and are wholly aware of the differences between North Glendale and the resources afforded to them and what resources we have in South Glendale. So closing this library would be a huge loss to our community and cannot happen. I'm also an arts and ceramics teacher at John Muir, so I know each and every student that attends there. Sorry, I'm nervous. I hate speaking in public.
You're doing fine.
And I want to say that because we are a dual language school, so about half of our school learns Spanish and graduates as bilingual speakers. We also have about, I think 60% of our school are English language learners. So we have a really nuanced, special school where we have children learning English and also learning Spanish. And that Adams Connection Library supports all of those young readers. Our little library can only do so much, and it can only stay open during school hours. So that Adams Connection place is a place where tutors and students meet. It's where our older students can get middle grade books in Spanish, Armenian, Russian. It's also a place where our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders can walk safely and spend time. And I'm sure all of you are aware of The Anxious Generation and that book and all of the research behind it. We cannot close places where young preteens and teens have the opportunity to make human connection in a safe place within a walking distance of a school. So I beg you, do not close the library on behalf of the John Muir Foundation and PTA and our school, but also our greater community. I know it also supports our seniors and our other communities, but as a parent, as a PTA president, as a teacher at John Muir, please keep it open, find a way. And if not, you'll hear back from us. We'll come tenfold. South Glendale is fierce. We're mighty. We're strong. We'll be here. Okay, thank you.
All right. Annalisa, last name W. And then do we have both Fays? I know. Are they here? All right, you'll be next.
Good afternoon, Mayor. I haven't read The Lord of the Rings in a while, but you've inspired me to find what little time I have right now as a stay-at-home mom to two littles to further my love of reading. Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. My name's Annalisa Worm. This is my husband, Timothy. Our two children, Magnus is about almost 3, and Augustine will just turn 1. We are kind of recent home buyers in Adams Hill. We've been residents of Glendale for just 2 years, and so far really, truly loving it. We love the walkability of our community, access to Palmer Park, caffeine. God knows we need our coffee by the caseload right now. And one of the beautiful assets of our neighborhood, but really the South Glendale community at large, is this little library connect, right? We call it the library. It's very tiny, but it's something we utilize, and many of our parents and peers in our community utilize several times a week, if not more. Magnus is a proud participant in Toddler Storytime, hosted usually on Monday mornings. I think there are the better part of 20 to 30 children who participate in that on any given week. A great opportunity to meet other children, for children who are not yet in preschool or childcare communities, for socialization purposes, early literacy, interest in reading, but also is a really powerful connector for parents, caregivers, and nannies who frequent the library. We've met a lot of neighbors through the library, a lot of social connections, and really have furthered connections as we go through that library site. With my quick minute remaining time, I just want to highlight a letter I submitted to both council and as public comment for this meeting of over 100 residents who signed on and said, please save this branch. It's not even a full branch, but it's really important to us in the community, especially as something specifically for the South Glendale community.
It's fine. Let it be. It's okay.
Magnus, do you want to say something? What do you want to say?
I don't want to.
Okay, Magnus is getting a little shy.
Magnus loves his neighbors, John and Wesley. These are a couple people experiencing homelessness in our city who Magnus has met, who use library services. And it's a unifying space where Magnus experiences inclusion, where maybe it's not safe to do that on the street or even at a park. It's very safe in our library where Magnus gets to be a part of the whole community, people who might not even be safe outside of the library.
Sorry, thank you.
Have to talk. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for our time, and we appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Fay and Henry Fay, do you want to come up together, perhaps?
Hi, my name is Henry Fay. I'm 8 years old and in the 2nd grade at John Muir Elementary. I'm in the dual immersion program learning Spanish. I love our little library so much. I like participating in the fun activities there, like playing chess and experimenting with science. It's always great running into friends, and the people that work there are so nice. I think it's really important to the neighborhood because it's a safe gathering space for the community. The reading program Beanstack has been challenging and rewarding. I'm up to 332 books, and my love to read has really grown over the years, thanks to this program. My favorite afternoon is walking from school, stopping by the library to pick up books, and getting a delicious treat at Art's Bakery. It would break my heart to see our special library close. Thank you for taking time to listen.
No problem. What's your favorite book?
What?
What's your favorite book?
I like Wings of Fire. It's a
Wings of Fire, the dragon book? Yeah, that's a good one. All right.
Bring this back up here. Thank you for the meta benefit of teaching our children how democracy works through this. We would rather that the library cut was never proposed, but has given us a great opportunity to introduce our children to participatory democracy. My name's Alex Fay. I moved to Adams Hill with my family about 5 years ago. We absolutely love it. It's a fantastic neighborhood because it has great social infrastructure. And that means everything from the school that we can walk to, great exercise every day, Arts Bakery, CAFIN, the mini park, the library, even trick-or-treating and walking around on Halloween with our kids. That doesn't happen in a lot of places, but it happens in Adams Hill because it's a special community. So I want to think about all those things as social infrastructure. And I'm using that word very intentionally. I'm going to come back to that. Infrastructure is something that you don't just build overnight. You don't change, you don't shut. Infrastructure takes planning. I have the privilege of serving as a Glendale Water and Power Commissioner, and we deal with a lot of infrastructure. We build a power plant. We're building a landfill gas plant. These are projects that have taken years and years to plan because they're going to be around for decades. And we need to think about the library in the same way. The library department is currently in the home stretch of a strategic plan. I had the opportunity to participate as a stakeholder in that strategic plan. And I'll tell you, I was chagrined and gobsmacked to find that my participation was basically nullified by a proposal to close this library before the strategic plan was even completed. So at the very least, I would encourage you to wait and see the results of that strategic plan before making an irreversible decision like closing this library. Because it's in a leased space, if this library closes and another tenant moves in, it will never reopen. So this is a fatal and permanent decision before you. I would encourage you to dig deep in the municipal couch cushions and find a few coins to keep this library open, at least for another year, run out the full term of the lease, which I understand goes through 2030 or something like that. And we use the intervening years to find a permanent home for this social infrastructure. We're not building a park on a leased Joann's Fabric parking lot. We're buying that land. The city owns the mini park. The city owns its water treatment plant. The city owns its power plant. The city needs to own its library. As long as this library is in a leased commercial space, its future will always be in doubt. So please continue the library as it is. It's a tremendous community asset, and let's work together. Let's harness this democratic energy to find a permanent home for the library, and we'll make this a great community on and into the future. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. Please. All right. We have two callers. First caller is Ani Cash, I believe, correct?
Yes.
All right, let's go to the callers on the line.
Okay. Ani, you're online. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ani. I'm a Glendale resident. First of all, thank you to all of the kids who showed up. I love the books you've mentioned, especially A Series of Unfortunate Events. It is a wonderful, wonderful pick. It's frankly, I mean, it makes my heart sing when I see young people get involved in civics. We need it. And A Series of Unfortunate Events is actually the perfect book for the comment I'm going to make, because the book series, if you're not familiar with it, it's about children whose money is supposed to be protected, but the grown-ups in charge keep finding ways to get at it instead. The last thing I read cover to cover was the California Public Records Act, which is not as fun, but I'm here to talk about something that is also part of, as Mr. Fay said, social infrastructure. It has to do with the emergency housing voucher program. And for those of you attending today who are not familiar with the issue, 188 of Glendale's most vulnerable households are about to lose partially subsidized housing as a result of the City of Glendale's housing division claiming that there is no money coming in anymore as they're waiting on federal funds. But there is actually money from LA County, and it's also seen in the slides. So my questions are for you guys tonight, because I've been going at this for a long time. My first one is, on the Measure A line on slide 5, it says $465,000 in direct assistance in salaries and benefits. I have been coming to various meetings asking about this money, and I'm wondering, after all of my advocacy, and I'm seeing things shifting around, what is direct assistance, and how much of that $400,000, how much of that actually reaches the household, and how much is salaries and benefits? Because there's a separate line items in your own appropriating resolution, I would like to hear directly what direct assistance is, because what is part of social infrastructure is also making sure that the money that is there to help the community is spent properly. And what I found previously was to the order of magnitude, almost $800,000 of a difference. And that was explained as a transposition error. So civic participation means looking at things and poking at them to make sure that they are being used appropriately. And what I'm seeing right now is very confusing to me because if I also followed earlier, this is dependent on a final allocation. The city of Glendale got over $5 million in Measure A funds, and let's not confuse the different kinds of Measure A funds because there's multiple. I need to be very, very clear that at this point, right, libraries are a safety issue. So is housing for the people in Glendale who are standing to lose their assistance while Glendale City charges their own salaries to these funds. Second of all, I just want to be really clear. What I'm seeing is an improvement, but it is not actually what should be allotted. So let's get clear on what money can be used as a direct rental assistance to these families instead of paying ourselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next caller is Marianne Ruiz, and that is our last speaker for this afternoon.
Marianne, you're on air. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the council for letting me speak. I'm just going to be very brief. I think the children and the previous speakers have said a lot in support of the library. And again, it's one of the most important aspects of our community in South Glendale. And as a parent of a child with special needs, the library has become a safe haven for us. It offers a controlled and safe space for us to read, to play, to spend our time. I just want to call in and show my support for the library and say that cuts to literacy at the end of the day hinder and hurt our public education system. So thank you again. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think we have to continue with our meeting, but I don't know if anyone wants to weigh in, comment, say anything. We have all these folks. I don't want to start with comments myself because I want to give as much time to my colleagues. I can state my general opinions towards the end of the meeting. But go ahead, Councilmember Brotman.
No, I would rather hear the rest of the presentation.
Anyone else want to? All right. Love it. Okay, all right. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming. If you aren't able to stay for the whole meeting, know that you can go back and watch online what is discussed here. No final decision is being made today. We're just having a discussion. There won't be a vote taking. This is an opportunity for the people who hold all the money for the city to tell us what we're able to do with it, what we can't. They're like the piggy bank for all of us, and we're going to tell them what we all can agree we want to spend the money on or not. Please proceed, Ms. Rowley. Yes, Councilmember Al-Satrian.
If we can ask the city clerk if you have pins to give to just the children as a memory for their first time at City Hall, would appreciate that. That's all.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's continue. I also want to let my colleagues know that because it's a Thursday, like most Thursdays, I have a family obligation at 4 p.m. So we'll continue, and then if the discussion continues beyond that, I'll excuse myself, and the Mayor Pro Tem can continue the meeting, who I believe is Councilmember Najari. What? Is it Al-Satrian? Okay. All right. I was going alphabetically. I thought after Garpetian. All right. Then please proceed, Mr. Lang.
Okay, so Ms. Cervantes' presentation ended on our updated 5-year forecast, and this is really just a quick reminder of the council where we are as we consider additional items into the budget. So just to focusing on fiscal year 26-27, we're still, based on our projection, we're still looking at a deficit of $2.2 million overall for general fund, and that's our starting point. Excuse me, clerk. Okay, there we go. So we have a couple items that has been requested for further council discussion, and the first one is actually library budgetary reduction, which is the item that has been requested, and from the request, we gathered information about the current operation of the Library Connection at Adams Squares. Right now, it opens and staffed Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. The proposed reduction does indicate a closure of library starting in January of 2027. And the estimated annual cost saving to that is for fiscal year 26-27, it amounts to $136,000. And for fiscal year 27-28 and ongoing on an annual basis, it amounts to about $262,000. The other one is the Chevy Chase Library that has been requested to bring information back as well. And the current operation at Chevy Chase is that we have choice hours Monday through Thursday, meaning those hours are unstaffed. And then we have 11 staffed hours split between Wednesday and Saturdays. The proposed reduction is to extend choice hours on Wednesdays and reduce the staffing on Wednesdays and have staffed hours on Saturdays only. The estimated annual cost saving of that for fiscal year 26-27 is $35,000, and for fiscal year 27-28 and on, annually it's $45,000. So that's the information that we brought back for your council's additional discussion on the library budget reduction. Any comments or questions?
So in terms of the costs of the Adams Square Library, what is, this is staffing and rent?
This is the staffing and rent. The rent, I would say the maintenance and operations portion of that is about $60,000, and the rest is hourly staffing.
Okay.
Sorry, how much is the rent? Sorry.
60,000, roughly 60,000.
Find out, that would be great.
60,000 this year, and is it increasing?
For the year, it's about 75,000.
How many square feet is that spot?
Good question. We don't have the square footage for that.
I'd be curious to know the details of what that is costing the city.
Give me one moment while I get the square footage. Did I bring? Sorry.
Sorry.
So the square footage of Library Connection at Adams Square
In addition to that, like, I'd be curious to know the staffing times and how often it's.
So the total square footage is 2,190 square feet.
And what is our monthly rent?
Our monthly rent right now is $75,727.10 annual rate.
Okay, so divide by 12?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly 6,000 and some change.
I'm looking at our resident real estate professional expert to tell us whether that's reasonable or not. But anyways, go on.
And I just wanted to add that it increases at a rate of 3% for the first 2 years of the lease. And then for the final 3 years of the lease, it's a 5-year lease. It increases at a rate of 3.5% with the opportunity to renegotiate after the second year in January of 2027.
Okay.
28, excuse me.
And Alyssa, the closure would not be as of July 1st. I think the proposal was that it would last for at least 6 months because there was a provision in the contract that we would have to give them 6 months' notice.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions from staff? Go ahead, Councilmember Garpetian.
So this year, I mean, the first year is 136,000. Why is it increasing to 262,000 before? Even with the 3% increase in rent, it won't. I just want to understand 27, 28. Why is it 262?
The reason that we are proposing is a 6-month cut in fiscal year 26-27. That is why that number that you see in 26-27 is much smaller than 27-28 because the savings will be a 4 years savings, including the rent and hourly wages.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
So
the library is open Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., right? So that part is fixed.
Correct.
And if the rent is 75,000 this year, and if you continue for next 5 years, it's going to increase 3% a year. 75,000, 3% of 75,000 is not going to. How is it adding up to 262,000?
Oh, so we for the illustration purpose, we ignored the inflation piece and just kind of simplified it to 262,000. So to be accurate, it will be 262,000 plus the increases that's contractually obligated.
1 second, please. Let me just. Because if you have 75,000 and you add 3% to the rent, it will be $77,250. I don't understand the difference between 136 and 262. Where is it coming from?
Well,
It's half year.
it's,
It's a half year
Yeah.
because they're closing it. It's a half year budget.
Oh, 136 is half year budget. Okay, there we go. Okay.
so, did you have a follow-up question, Councilmember Garapedino?
No, so our yearly budget is basically 262,000 with 75,000 the rent, and it's going to increase 3% a year based on the rent. Okay.
Correct.
Member Najarian.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. And I have to admit, I haven't been in the connection since it moved. When did it move across the street?
We have been in that space for about 18 years now.
No, I don't think so.
It has been.
The historic building moved 18 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, when I say historic, I think we're neighborhood legal services.
Yes, exactly.
Was it that long ago?
Yep.
I know we had a discussion about closing it at that point because we were running out of space. In terms of the hours of the library connection, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., are these any longer hours than our central library?
Our central library is currently open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Thursday, and then weekend hours.
Okay, and we just revamped the children's section of the...
Of Central Library, yes.
It's very attractive, award-winning.
It hasn't won any awards, but it is very attractive and
you're going
beautiful. Not yet. It hasn't won any awards yet.
And, I mean, it's about a mile, isn't it, from the connection to the central library?
Yes.
1.4 miles, to be exact.
Yes, that is correct. Central Library, let me see if I have the exact, one moment, please.
It's 1.4 miles.
Central Library is 1.4 miles from Adams Square.
Right. Okay. And the library initially opened in 2008.
Yes.
I was there. We did a big remodel of that historic building, over $1 million at that time, was a lot. The city was pretty flush with money back then, and I think we started considering this in 2005, opening a library. And so I was there. I just wanted to tell you, we were hoping, I mean, at no point did we determine that this was an entitled location ad infinitum in Chevy Chase. It was all depending on the funding. We had good funding back at that time. In 2008, it was a much different financial situation. So, okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions on this item? Thank you. And there are no questions on this or the Chevy Chase Library?
I'll have comments, but not questions.
Sure, but we have, if it's a question, yes, if it's a comment, let's wait
Just a
until
question.
completion, sure.
Are there other funds that we can pull from to try to cover these costs? Are there contracts that we can look at that haven't really produced much? I will speak again to perhaps some contracts that are not meeting the obligations. I don't know where we're at with the audits on those, or contracts with communication that we have. We talk about this time and again where we're bringing in outside communication consultants who we're not happy with. And I don't know what contracts we have out there beyond what we've budgeted for that we can take a look at and get creative. But if there's opportunities to pull from things like that, I would be interested to try to save these.
Well, I mean, the city has a very large financial operation. So in generally speaking, We do have an internal audit function, as well as all departments are continuously looking for efficiency measures. I think that's what you're alluding to, Councilmember Saturian, is that if we find savings in other places of operations, and if it is your council's policy direction, we could potentially look at other potential savings to help augment some of these costs. If that's a policy direction.
I would add, thank you, Mr. Yang, Council Member, Sergeant Member, City Council. Just as a reminder, as a refresher, as you all know, the challenges that we are having is with our general fund. We also have a large, extensive number of enterprise funds that are dedicated to their own operations. And I would say majority of the contracts that you're referring to are in the enterprise funds. The challenge that we're having here, and I have to say this, there's no city manager that takes joy in introducing service cuts to any community. And I know I speak for my executive team, the rest of the organization. Actually, this has been a very painful process. But as you know, in an effort to provide to you as my duty a balanced budget, is that I had asked for across the board in general fund cuts in order to be able to close that gap. So when let's take the example of library department, when they come up with the percentage that I have asked for them to be able to cut back, and if we don't go through, as a team, we don't go through the recommended, the suggested cut within this department, then another department within general fund will have to increase their percentage of the cut so that we're able to provide to you a balanced budget as you see today. However, it's a policy direction. If that's what council wants us to look into it, we're happy to facilitate that. But it's taken a lot of work to get here. We don't take these impacts to the community lightly, and very difficult choices that we have to make. Thank you.
Councilmember Garpetian.
Let me ask a question so the members of the community can maybe get some clarification too. So every department has its own budget, right? Like library has its own budget, public works, so on and so forth. So this is being cut from the library's budget based on their proposal. The general fund funds the library's budget and everything else, right? Within that general fund, police, fire, libraries, parks. Some of the events that we have, let's say, I don't know, Business Summit, for example. We had one of my colleagues asked for what the cost of that Business Summit is. It was like $105,000 or $110,000. It was city's investment into that project, basically, in that event, and that's a 6 to 8 hours event. It's very, very necessary. I'm not against that, but are these some of the events that maybe we can move that and put it in this budget to make this go for another year or so we will understand how can we address the issue, which is very valid reason that how can you say no to these faces? I mean, it's just unbelievable. And the one that says, please, it reminded me of my kids when they were little. So I think that's what we need to look into if we want to move to this direction. But our obligation on the lease, is it that we need to continue because our lease is up in 6 months? Is that what it is? No?
No, the lease goes on longer. It has a 180-day notice period if we were to terminate it. That's why
we have a cancellation clause in there. Okay.
Correct.
So lease can go on another. Is there a way to have a shorter? Oh, we have that cancellation clause. If we continue, we can cancel anytime within 6 months notice in advance. Okay.
Right.
I mean, today we're not making any decisions, but I think that's the arenas that we can look into, so we don't put the burden of the libraries in another department. If they don't do this, someone else has to pick up the rest of the changes. So That's one of the things. We have so many events that we support. We can maybe look into not doing those for a year or two until hopefully the economy will change, our revenues will change, and we can serve everyone equally. And let me put this is the last thing, Mr. Mayor. There is no difference between South Glendale and North Glendale. I don't want to have that conversation. We are here to serve everyone. Believe me, we are here to serve everyone. That's all I'm gonna say. So I just want to put your mind in ease that there is no difference in my mind, in all of our minds, between South Glendale or North Glendale. This is one large community, and we are here to serve you. That's it, equally.
Thank you very much. What by the way, Councilmember Najarian wishes to speak, and just so we can get through this in some reasonable fashion, I will allow everyone to speak, and this is kind of how we have been doing it. Everyone will get to speak once, ask questions, and then there's a second opportunity, but after everyone speaks or has had an opportunity to speak a second time, we have to move on to the next item. So please be judicious in your picking your comments and words, and I will ask Councilmember Najarian to.
Thank you. Just for clarification, has staff completed their presentation?
We have one more item after this one.
Which item is that?
That's a pavement management program.
I'm sorry, the?
Pavement
Management. Okay, well, I'll try and be brief. I appreciate the efforts. Mr. Galanian, so each department was asked to reduce its budget by a certain amount or to contain costs.
5%. I'm sorry, Councilman Najarian, 5% within 2 years.
Okay, so when we're talking about this library, could the library director have said, I'm willing to cut the central library's hours and direct that money to the Chevy Chase, to the Adams Hill connection?
Councilman Najarian, yes, I had left that up to the discretion of the department heads.
Okay, so in our department heads' experience, training, education, and good for the community, it was her, let's say, acclamation to make this decision to do it in this manner.
It was the library director's proposal to me to, adjust this.
So council isn't the one who said, where are we going to cut money? Let's do it from the Chevy Chase.
You are correct.
Library. The Adams Hill connection. Okay, at some later point, I would like to know what the cut to the aquatics program is and was, and I'd like to have that up for discussion as well, because if we're, they are an unrepresented group. Aquatics are very important. Teaching kids to swim saves their lives. It helps the seniors stay healthy. So that's just something, if we're sort of digging things up, I don't want that to be left off the table for prospective funding.
Yeah, Councilmember.
Refunding,
yes,
let's call it
Najarian,
refunding.
we can get that information
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
readily for you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on. Yes. Okay, Councilmember Al-Satrian and Councilmember Brotman, and then after that, we absolutely are moving on to the next item.
When I was referring to contracts, I will wholeheartedly disagree on cutting additional programs and events that bring people together in this community. What I was referring to, I'm going to just speak off the top of my head. I know that some year and a half ago, 2 years ago, during my mayorship, I had gone through with staff and Essentia on Essentia's contract, where there's a lot of things that they're not meeting, but we're paying for them for. I don't know where we are with either reducing that contract to what they're actually giving to the city. Happy to pay for services we're receiving, not happy to pay for services that are within the contract. There are others that I have pointed to. So I would prefer for us to go through a system where we're holding our contracts accountable and revisiting those versus cutting additional programming that benefits our city and our residents and our small businesses.
Okay, Councilmember Brotman.
Well, I was going to hold my comments till we finish this, but I can give them now. It seems everybody's doing that. Should I just?
Yeah,
if you'll come back to me, I would rather.
May as well. I think that given that folks are here, they may not be able to stay for the next hour, and we're going to move on to the much more exciting topic of our pavement plan for our roads.
Okay.
I think you may want to make your comments about the library.
So first I'll say, yes, I understand that each department went through this exercise and they were given the same number, but there's no law that says, it has to be a peanut butter approach and every department has to cut the same amount. That's where we come in and we can override that and make some decisions about where we want those cuts to come from. So I have been, communicating to people who've written in, and I've suggested that I don't believe we should implement these cuts for this fiscal year. I think from conversations with our finance director, it would cost us about $312,000 if we were to reverse the cuts both to Adams Square, Chevy Chase, and the Central Library hours. It would be a additional cost, basically, that would come back into the general fund and come out of reserves if we can't find another opportunity for savings of $312,000.
Correct.
And I would support that. I would not be comfortable with a budget that makes these library cuts. I think, and what I've said to people is, I think we can do that for this year. The big issue is going to be future years, and I want everybody to understand this. It's not going to be this fiscal year. It's going to be the next and the next and one after that. And we have a revenue problem here. We don't have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. So I'm just hoping that if we are in a position to stave off these changes for 1 year, that the community will be understanding and supportive when we come back and we explain that we need to do certain things to generate additional revenue, not just to keep our libraries intact, but our parks, our police and fire, and every other service that we provide to the community. So it's an important message, I hope, that gets out to people that, we can maybe twist some levers and prevent this from happening, and I would support that. But this is a very short-term solution, and we're going to need help, and we're going to have to harness, harness the democratic momentum. I think that was Mr. Fay's term. We're going to have to harness our democratic momentum to help solve our budget, help solve our revenue problem. So that's my general comment. Now, there are other things I have concerns about in this budget. For instance, I am concerned that the sustainability office is being kind of pushed into like GWP down a couple layers. I think that pretty much undermines the work of that office, which is near and dear to my heart. But I understand we all have to give something, and that's something that I've told the finance director, I've told the city manager, that I'm not protesting. I understand that we all need to make sacrifices. So I'm going to, leave that one be. I understand we need to do that. I hope that when we solve our revenue problem, we can kind of reconsider that decision and think about how we want to staff our sustainability office. But for now, I understand we have to go forward with that. That's pretty much what I would say. Now, in terms of where we find this $312,000, that I think we'll see if there's some savings from the current fiscal year, because I know staff is very good at coming in below their numbers. They try very, very hard, and I'm hoping that there will be some savings in this fiscal year that we can use to cover this. But I do have a question. It's a little bit of a provocative question, and I don't want people to jump out of their seat. I just want to hear the number. What is it costing us to do cruise night?
Oh, cruise night. Actually, we have that in. Backup. So if we can respond after the next item, that'll give us a lot of time.
Okay, because I think Councilmember Najarian has a question about the aquatics program, and I would like the answer to that too. And I would like to know what cruise night is costing us.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian, members of the council. It's around 98 to 100,000 per event, but we do have
98,000.
98,000.
correct.
98,000 to 100,000. We collect about $45,000 to $50,000 in sponsorship, so there is an offset.
Okay, so net is
about
55,000.
55,000, yeah. And then next year, we're going to be cutting the entertainment for 2027, which costs us around 29,000. So we are reducing the cost of cruise night down to 30,000 next year, 2027, not for 2026.
Okay. Those are all, that's all I have.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. And I'll just say the following before we move on. Thank you again for everyone who's come. If you stay with us, fantastic. If you have to go, we understand. I love libraries. Probably one of the reasons why I ran for public office, because I felt that they are places that build community. It's what, our social contract that we enter into when we move into a city is about, a place where everyone can come, everyone has access to books. A lot of the authors you guys mentioned are authors I enjoy as well. And I do like the Percy Jackson series, even if it is easy to read. And I'll say that these aren't easy decisions that we're faced with. And the reality of it is all of us up here will have to make cuts that none of us are going to feel good about. I don't know if the library in Adams Hill or Chevy Chase will be part of that yet. But I want to let you know that, for instance, I believe we need more access to places like libraries. We just have to figure out whether how we've been doing it has been the best way for the community and whether there's a different way. This library, as Councilmember Najarian mentioned, has been a topic of discussion at various times because we lease the space, and it was accurately mentioned that we don't own it. However, there are other models. For instance, we have a public school site at Edison that has a library that is both a city library and a school library, right, off Pacific. And we have to look at other models that could work for our communities and see how we can work with our partners. Maybe Glendale Community College just built a interesting or has space available that is not that far from that, right? So we have to think long term. Sometimes we may have to do things that maybe hurt a little bit in the short run, but we are looking at this as holistically as possible. And I will say, I understand the sentiment that Councilmember Garpetian is trying to say, that there's no South Glendale, there's no North Glendale, sure, there's no East Glendale, there's no West Glendale. We are all one city. I see it that way as well, and I agree with him. But I also understand that some parts of the city have needs for certain services more than others. As someone who grew up in an apartment complex most of his life until adulthood, libraries were one of the places where I could go to get away from my two brothers and read a book quietly in a nook. And even if it meant I had to walk over a mile from our apartment on Sinclair and then later on Cedar just down the street from here. But South Glendale has less libraries, or below the freeway, we have less libraries than we have above the freeway. And below the freeway, we have more density than we have above the freeway. So we'll look to do something. I just don't know what it is yet. And it may mean that this library won't continue existing in its current form, but there may be another solution that we can find that would serve the community. But we're not going to do anything to take away your access to books, because we have to look at what we need versus what we want. And we all want a lot of things, as you've heard up here from my colleagues. But the question is looking at the needs and how we meet those needs, all right? But we're with you. We all love books. I love books as well. So we're going to do our best. I promise you that. Thank you for coming. All right, let's go on to the next item.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Before we go on to the next item, just a quick information clarification responding to Councilmember Najarian's comment is that these are not the only reduction that has been proposed by the library. The Adams Hills and the Chevy Chase are the ones that will receive the most comment. There are other hour reductions, for example, at the Central Library, that has been proposed as part of the total package as well. So just for the benefit of the council and the public. And we do have information on the aquatic program, and if you'd like to hear that, we can cover that in the question and answer section after the next item. Okay. Next, I will pass it on to our Director of Public Works, Daniel, to provide us information on the pavement management program.
Thank you, Mr. Liang and Mayor of the City Council. So I have the privilege of talking about the hot topic of pavement management, so I appreciate the comments from the Mayor. So on April 20th, staff presented the most recent pavement management report, which was completed in December of 2024. Notably, the report indicated that our pavement condition declined from 72 to 65. During this presentation, we indicated that we would provide the City Council with options to maintain or improve our PCI and the corresponding costs associated with the different options. As outlined last week by the city manager, I will be going over specifics of the information he provided for the three options, which are to maintain the status quo, which would result in a reduction of the PCI from 65 to 62, maintaining our PCI at 65, or improving to 72. Prior to going to each option's specific numbers, I will describe the structure of each option as seen on the screen. First, the annual investment figures shown in the report are presented in the fiscal year 2025 dollars and represented the average annual funding needed to deliver the number of PMP targeted investments under scenarios as shown in the 2025 PMP report. Next is the 5-year PMP targeted payment investment. This is a corresponding investment that reflects the total cost of each scenario over 5 years, including an annual percentage compound escalator factor for labor, material, and construction market conditions. This is then followed by how many PMP-specific projects can be delivered, how many positions would be required to deliver those specific projects. Next is the cost for those positions. And lastly, you have the 5-year deferred maintenance cost, which represents pavement work that remains after the 5-year planning period. It includes roads that have deteriorated below the critical condition threshold, which is below 56 PSI, and additional deficiencies. This amount was also taken from our 2025 pavement management report. So I'll go through each one from left to right. So first one is the status quo, which I indicated would decline the PCI to 62. Per our 2025 pavement management plan, that indicated a $3 million spend. However, due to the cost escalation, the 5-year PMP target is now $16 million. For us to be able to, with these $16 million, we would be able to deliver 5 of 35 PMP-specific projects. It is important to know that this doesn't reflect our overall CIP portfolio. We have an additional 22 projects that include multimodal improvements, sewer and stormwater, safety, and bridge projects. Obviously, this is a status quo, so this would not require additional staff, so there is no additional cost, and the 5-year deferred maintenance after the 5-year planning period would be $290 million. So option 2, which is what staff is recommending, this is for what we're calling new staffing. This would maintain our PCI at 65. So as indicated in our PMP report, this would require $10 million a year. However, with the escalation for the 5-year PMP target investment, it would up the number to $63 million over that 5-year period. So this would allow us to deliver 25 of 35 projects. So this is in addition to the 5 that we had indicated in option 1. So this would be an additional 20. In order for us to do this, this would require 2 in-house positions. As indicated by the city manager previously, he had indicated 4, but what the request here is for 2 in-house, with the balance being through contractual services. So the cost for those 2 in-house services, which we're requesting at a CE2 or a project manager, the additional cost is $185,000 per year to the general fund and $315,000 of non-general fund. As you can see, this decreases the 5-year deferred maintenance to $253,000. And the next option, which requires the largest investment, requires additional staffing dollars and project construction funds. The annual investment on top of the option 2 which is $22.3 million, and with the escalator, this brings that 5-year total to $117 million. So this would allow us to deliver all 35 PMP specific projects, along with the 22 that I mentioned as well. So this would require a combination of 6 staff members of in-house and contractual services. So in this instance, we would probably recommend that we would need 3 in-house at that same level. However, this has a very significant cost implication. This would require $12 million additionally annually from the general fund and $700,000 from the non-general fund. But as you can see, this decreases the overall deferred maintenance to $186 million, which is over 100 over option 1. So as was discussed at length relative to the current budget situation, we believe that option 2 is the most optimal. In terms of the contractual services, it's not reflected here because we currently have the fund balance to maintain the $63 million over the next 5 years. In order for us to achieve this, we do need the staff in order to actually do this. So there is a general impact of $185,000 to the general fund, but with this investment of these 2 staff members, we are going to be able to deliver an additional 20 projects. So it's a substantial amount of work in the community for the $185,000. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mayor and Council, if I may, before we turn it over to questions, just to add to what was stated, we obviously, as city, as staff, would like to improve our payment condition index to 72 and beyond. So this is just a stopgap measure, hoping that as we move forward into the future years, that we'll be able to generate and have a steady stream of new revenues that will give us the opportunity to revisit this and come up with a strategy that we can increase the payment condition index beyond the 65 average.
Yes. Go ahead, Councilmember Al-Satrian.
Does staff have a plan for looking at various capital improvement projects and the costs for delay and looking at financing for those? I think I brought this up during last budget session as well, but if you're looking at, because I remember that once, I don't know if it's that the same projects included, but I remember one of the previous times that I talked to our previous Public Works Director, that number was 100 million, and now I'm looking at it, it's 117, right? And so whether it's this, whether it's upgrading our fire stations that I know are part of our plan, can we have some sort of report where you guys are looking at the capital improvement projects and saying, hey, if we did financing, it might end up actually saving us down the line, and this is what the savings would look like? Or it's better to just, go with the recommendation now, and then the 117 makes more sense than financing, in addition to other infrastructure capital improvement projects that we need to make for the city.
Yes, certainly, Councilmember Satrian. We have previously, as you mentioned, looked into options of different infrastructure financing. We've looked at least, at my recollection, it's 3 or 4, but would be more than happy to provide an update since it's been a couple of years. And so that council has a level of understanding, as you mentioned, between pay as you go or financing it.
Right. So, okay.
I've been here for only 11 months, and we are starting to work with the departments in partnership on some of those future financing strategies. I would say that we haven't covered the entire city yet, but we can continue the work and make sure that we do cover the whole city's infrastructure.
Yeah, because maybe if we bundle, it looks different. I don't know. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are you done with do you have anything else? Was that it?
I'm done with my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No? All right, go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah, so just a few ideas. I mean, we're talking about revenues, and some of those conferences that we go to, I hear from cities that are very happy with some revenue sources that they have. Of course, the most obvious is taxing, not very popular. The city of Bell Gardens and Commerce are very happy with their casinos. The city of Azusa is very happy with their gravel mining from their hills. They're also, I think it's Azusa as well, that has a large municipal recycling facility. Is it Azusa? So there are plenty of options out there for increased revenue. Some are very distasteful, though. So this is why we need to, really think hard about the expenditure side of our budget. Pot shops was one that the city has discussed, and we've roundly rejected that. If anyone has some bright ideas, I'd like to hear it. I think we're really limited on the ways that we can increase our revenues. The the easiest way, and it's not easy, of course, as we just heard from the children upset about a possible library closure, is to work on the expenditure side. So I just want to throw that out there. As I asked, city of Gardena, Carson, they have oil, and they put a tax on their oil facility. And it's, a handling, and they have refinery and all that. So Glendale has chosen a certain type of lifestyle where we don't want these things. That really does limit the ways in which we can get additional revenue. We can't rely, we're solely relying on mainly relying on our property taxes and our sales taxes up to this point. We don't have any of these, golden geese that some of these other cities have, that they can just keep, they live happy. They restrict, city of Vernon, they restrict how many people live in their city. And that keeps their expenses low, and they're pretty happy with the way they do things. So it's a difficult situation. Revenues are hard to come by. So I really think the unfortunate reality is we have to focus on the expenditures, and that's what we're doing. And these are all the tough decisions that we're making at the moment. Just a reflection on what I've seen out there.
Councilmember Brotman and then Councilmember Garpetian.
Well, I don't, are we having a discussion on revenues? We're not for this budget cycle, but we've talked about them in the past. We've talked about the list of potential revenues, and there are a lot of interesting ideas that, yes, I think every one of them will probably have one detractor or another, but in the spirit of, having to do what we need to do, I think many of them are preferable to the kinds of cuts to libraries that we just discussed today, and cuts to public service and other things. So we're not going to cut our way out of this problem. It's very clear. When 2/3 of our budget is police and fire, we're not cutting our way out of this problem. So new revenues, I guess I take a different approach. We have to find new revenues. I think there are many opportunities for new revenues. We've looked at a long list of them. I think we should come back and look at that list. They're not all tax, although there are some that are tax related. But I very much think that's the path we need to go down, not thinking that we're going to get to a balanced position through cuts, because that would be a downward spiral of service cuts that would turn us into a less desirable city, an undesirable city, and that's not a city I think we want to be part of. So that's what I'll say.
Yes, Mayor, and I would just, this, and I would remind the public that, to your point, we have already cut $17 million out of this budget. And a speaker mentioned municipal couch cushions. We've turned them over upside down, looked at every corner of those couches, and $17 million, it's a lot of cuts. And that's true. I don't know how much more cutting we can do that will not impact staffing, service levels. We as a city, we don't make widgets. We're in the service providing business, and with that comes labor at the cost that you have noted and experienced.
And Mr. Mayor, just final point. For the record, I came out and very clearly said that I do support cannabis. And I understand that's probably not a major revenue generator for us. So I don't think that's going to be the solution. But just, I didn't want their perception that it was roundly, whatever the term you used, poo-pooed by the council. I did raise my hand on that one, and I will again.
Okay. Councilmember Garpetian?
Yeah, the couple of questions. These 35 projects, are they ready projects? If you have the funding, are they ready to go, or are they designed, or they're in the works?
So this represents a 5-year CIP. So we do have some projects that are being actively worked on that are more shovel-ready than others. But the other ones in the outer years will still need to be designed and then subsequently constructed.
Okay. And the one in green, to maintain the PCI 65, we have that $10 million a year funding, basically.
So yes, we do. It's slightly higher. Our PMP from 2024 indicated $10 million, but with the escalation, it comes out to about 12.6 million. But we do have that money, and it's non-general fund. So that's the important distinction. 63 million of non-general fund dollars. For us to be able to deliver it, it would only cost us 185,000.
Okay. And the PCI from 62 to 65 is costing us about $2.3 million for one PCI, basically. But from 65 to 72, it costs us $1.7 million per one PCI. Is that because from 65 the condition is better, and when you want to go to 72, it's easier or less expensive to do?
That is an element of it. But in terms of how we're approaching this, there is a focus on a lot more residential streets. So we have a lot of opportunities to do some treatments, such as slurry seal, that would preserve the life of it. So obviously, if you let it degrade over a longer period of time, it's going to be exponentially more expensive. But there is an element to what you said. Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Al-Sadri.
I'm going to point to the revenue items again. I think last we had that discussion, you had at least 3 votes on a lot of the items to move forward. This was some months ago, and we had also asked that you provide a timeline for when you plan to bring each of those back for discussion and a review. I don't think we've gotten anything. If you can please provide that at some point during this, so we can start scheduling those, because I think we really do need to shift to revenue generation.
Yeah, and we have multiple discussion meetings with the departments that are leading with each one of those revenue items, and they are progressing at different pace. In fact, in one of our earlier study sessions, some of those, I would say, easier to implement items has even been incorporated in our forecast for next year and the future year as well. Some of the items that require a little more work, that we kind of put them in a tier 2 timeline perspective, but we can definitely bring back a separate report to the council on those items and share a status update on that.
Okay. I have several things to go through that are not part of this, but I had brought up previously. Do you want us to go through this item first and then?
Well, I think on this item, there isn't anything else other than staff is making a recommendation to go with option 2.
Correct.
For upcoming budget approval, seeking perhaps either acceptance, pushback, suggestions. I don't know, a rich uncle dying and leaving us whatever it may be. Anyways, so I think you have, unless anyone feels strongly about this, there isn't anything else that you're seeking from us, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Just
Yes,
one thing on
Councilmember
this.
Brown.
So I do support staff's recommendation on option 2. I think it's the only thing that's really going to make sense for us right now. I would like, when you get a chance, a list of those 25 projects, just so I can see it. Thank you.
Excellent. Will do.
As specific to this, I will say that in doing the math, obviously the option 3 is one that will save us some more money. I think my calculations I was just doing on the back of the notes here was like 13 million total when you look at what the investment is versus the deferred maintenance cost. Clearly, we don't have the ability to do that, but I would like us, in even moving forward with an option to adopt a plan that allows us to upgrade when we can, because I think we really need to maintain our roads and sidewalks and infrastructure in a way that encourages new business investments, people wanting to come here, live here, work here. I know that, again, these aren't the most exciting. Obviously, now the chambers are much more empty than they were a few minutes ago, but this is the real important part of running the city that no one really sees, that helps the city stand heads and shoulders above neighboring cities. We're going to have to figure it out. We will have to figure it out, and I think this is more important. And I know it'll probably get skewered in online, on the posts, on different pages. This is really at times more important than, which of our pet projects individually we are looking to cut. Because if we do this right, then we get the revenues from investments and businesses and employment here in the city to be able to do all the other things. Then we get to have nice things.
Absolutely right.
So fine with option 2, begrudgingly, with the possibility of going to option 3 in as seamless a way as possible. And I have some other thoughts, but I don't want to extend it longer and beyond that. I know the council member Asatryan stepped out, but I also, while we wait for her to return to go through her list, I want to just put this out there. We had, our police station was outdated, and in 1995, I think there were plans to build it, and it was done through, I believe, bonds, if I'm not mistaken. And those bonds, even as recently as 2019 or 2020, were refinanced. So
Yes,
there's
several
debt,
times, yeah.
there's the debt that is still being paid on a building that I think probably even if you were to ask some of our police personnel would say that the building is not as fresh as it once was, maybe has some issues, but it is what it is. It's what we have. It's certainly better than what the old station was. But we have that old building there, right? And there's things that we could do with it, and there is other properties, and everyone gets very tense when we talk about vacant lots or properties. But I was recently at a meeting of different agencies at Long Beach's City Hall. I hadn't been inside their new City Hall before. I'd only been inside their old City Hall building. And if you go down to what is considered their civic area, their downtown civic center, they have a brand new City Hall. And it was all done through this model of public-private partnership. It's a model known as design, build, finance, operate, and maintain, where private third parties will do all of the work for you, and then they run it for you. You pay them for the cost of running the operation, and then after 20 or 40 years, they hand the keys to you, and you own. It's essentially your building, but it's not, right? No one walking into Long Beach City Hall knows that it doesn't necessarily belong to the Long Beach City Council, to the taxpayers, et cetera. They just know that they're going in there to do the city's business and walk out. But after X number of years, whatever the agreements are, then it does become theirs. And it's something we have never done here in Glendale, as far as I know, and it's something we have to start considering doing, because most agencies are very conservative. I understand we want to control everything. We worry about, well, we're giving up control. Those days are gone. It's just, we're not going to be able to. We're clearly seeing how we're not able to achieve all the things that the community expects from us. So I am going to reiterate that I think we do need to bring in outside consultants to look at our overall financial approach and strategy, as other cities have done. And in addition to that, we do have to ask them, where are the areas where we have deferred maintenance and needs, and how can a P3 model work for Glendale? That's my suggestion. And it may require us somewhere mid-budget or 3 months from now to have yet another afternoon Thursday session like this to delve into it. All right, Councilmember Asatryan, floor is yours.
So first, I have a couple of follow-up questions to some items that weren't part of the discussion. The holiday tree lighting that we're cutting, that was under Parks and Rec. Can you speak to the details of what exactly that is?
I'm going to have our Director of Community Services and Parks speak to that.
The holiday tree lighting isn't part of the cuts.
There was a
on my
sheet
list.
that I saw. It was part of the list of items that was listed. There was some $10,000-$15,000.
The only time that we've talked about cuts was during the first budget study session. It would have been on slide 18 under cost reductions for community
We
services
didn't talk
parks.
about it publicly, but I saw it in the folder with the
Yeah.
follow-up items. It was in one of the documents.
Oh, that was it.
Caught my attention.
Councilmember Asatryan, give us a second just to look at this list, because we did provide a more detailed list of comparison of the reductions from last year to this year. It is not part of this year's list. I wonder if it's part of last year's list that was proposed.
We did have a cut for this fiscal year, which was the holiday tree, the lights on brand south of Colorado. We cut that. That was like a $14,000-$15,000 contract.
That's the one.
Oh, I thought you were meaning the holiday tree lighting event.
No. I just saw like holiday tree lighting as like an item. I didn't know what that was, so I just wanted an explanation.
Okay, those are the lights for the holiday lights for brand, for the businesses on brand south of Colorado. So we're doing that in-house with our friends over at Glendale Water Power.
Okay. And then there was the cut for the community relations position for the libraries, under libraries, I think.
Libraries.
So there were two items that caught my attention in the detailed report. There was a cut for the community relations position. I don't know what that position, who fills that position, has it been vacant, what that role was? And then the second was cutting funding for the Reflect Space for $5,000 for artists, if you can speak to those two.
Yes. So the community relations cut, those are hourly wages. So right now we have one full-time program supervisor dedicated as well as 3 hourlies. And so part of our reductions were to reduce hourly wages across the entire library, not just specific branches. So that included our back-end folks as well. So they will continue to work just with reduced hours. As far as funding for Reflect Space artists, that funding has been moved to the Urban Art Fund. So the Urban Art Fund will now be funding our brand galleries as well as our Reflect Space gallery.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
I just have, I saw that the Maple Park playground was part of the fencing was part of the budget. But I know that we were waiting for earmarked funds that we had requested from Congresswoman Friedman, that we were potentially going to look at how we shift funds for the other park. Is there any update on grants or funding coming through for that ask?
We applied for funding for Joanne's through the community project through Congresswoman Friedman's office. But in terms of the Montrose Park we were looking at, we're working with a nonprofit to see if they can secure some funds in the amount of $1.5 million to redo that entire playground as an all-inclusive playground.
Okay.
But the $121,000 for Maple Park is part of the ask for this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, I just have a couple of items that I do want to go through. Do you want me to raise them now?
Now is the time to do it.
Okay. So one of the things that I noticed was the nonprofit discount at $150,000 that was brought forth, which was passed through a policy that the council set. So you would basically be getting rid of that policy through the budget process. I would like to suggest that we hold it as it is in the budget. The $150,000 that you're suggesting is basically based off of what discounts we ended up giving last year. It's not a set amount. So some years it can be less, some years it can be more. But I do think that having gone through this process for a year, that item actually needs to be revisited as a policy in general for us to make a determination on how we want to restructure that versus just cutting the program altogether. I do think that there needs to be some tweaks to it based on experience and what we've seen in the last year. But I would like to hold it and bring it back as a regular item for discussion as a policy, because we did that as a policy, and I'd like to visit the policy.
Can you state that again, just
So
more crisp?
we, as a council, had a session and an item on the agenda where we decided a 50% across the board nonprofit discount
Yes,
policy.
I recall that,
Yes.
so,
So if we did away with that through the budget, we're not having a conversation about the policy itself. We're just getting rid of it. We're basically getting rid of that policy and that item. What I would like to suggest is that we bring that back as an item for discussion at a future council meeting for us to revisit the policy, and based off that, the policy that we come up with, we restructure it based on what we've seen in the last year. The $150,000 that's marked in the budget as a savings right now is not a set amount. It was what ended up costing us last year based on that policy.
Okay. All right.
So, and then the two other items is, I saw that looking to cut the Small Business Summit, which has been successful in the last 4 years. The allocated budget for last year was $144,000. Based off of the numbers, are you shaking your head like
No, I'm
that's
not
not part?
shaking.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Go ahead and finish your question.
There was $100,000. It ended up costing us $100,000 as I saw it. While I see that we brought in about $33,000 in sponsorships, I've said this time and again that there's a lot of opportunity, whether it is the timing of when we send out those letters for requests. I also requested that we have a better breakdown of the sponsors from last year, the year before, to see, who stayed, who didn't, why they didn't. But I think one of the issues that I've seen with the larger companies I've talked to was that they decide their annual giving between October and December, and we tend to send out our letters in January. So what I would like to suggest is that we don't get rid of the Small Business Summit. We look at how we structure it, that we as a council, and maybe Mr. Galanian, you get a report early January of, how do we do outreach for the sponsorships. And I've said this time and again, whether it's for this program or for anything else, we as a council also can be big ambassadors for reaching out and getting, both companies and organizations to sponsors. So it seems like you want to speak to that.
Yes, please. Thank you, Councilmember Asatarian. Just a point of clarification, we haven't eliminated the Small Business Summit program. We used to have, and there's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, $180,000 left in a one-time pot of money that we've been carrying over year after year, and there's still $180,000 left. We don't, as you noted, we don't see that there is a need for additional funding based on historical data, and so we're going to carry that over, and to your point, we're also going to enhance our sponsorship request from businesses, whether it's the timing, whether it's to reach out to larger companies or do it earlier. That's the strategy that we're planning moving ahead.
Okay, so it's not being cut for next year. Okay. And then lastly would be the staff member for the Women's Commission that I brought up last time. I know that one of the times we had a discussion about a year ago, there was conversations that you potentially had, not potentially, you had an administrative analyst position that was available in your office that was vacant, that could possibly be used to fill that should the need arise. Is that position still available? Or is that position now been filled with something else?
Staff will find out, Councilmember Sadrian, if that position is still vacant and available. But to your point, when the need arises, in our opinion, our experience, the staffing arrangement that we currently have is working well. Although Ms. Moghadishian's salary only charges 0.2, as you noted, to that budget. It's not, that doesn't mean that she spends 0.2% of her time. It's whenever the need is, and she has expended more time and effort with that commission, but we haven't experienced an additional resource as it stands today. They are planning on updating the strategic plan, I believe September, October, in partnership, as you know, with Glendale Community College. So we'll see how that goes, and we can always revisit it.
Okay. Can you provide the staffing update?
The only vacancies in the Management Services Department are in audit, so there's no analyst position available.
They were filled in the last year?
I'm
No,
not
I
sure when
think
they were filled, but
I-
currently there's no vacancy.
I can probably speak to it, and I would have to confer with the city clerk's office, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was a position that was transferred to the city clerk's office, and it was an analyst position after Sophia Arman left. Is that accurate?
Yes, and it was transferred back to Management Services.
Okay, well, we would have to get back. It'll take me a couple minutes to figure this
Mr.
out.
Galanian, if we can have that conversation between now and the budget session. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Najarian, I am interested in having a conversation about the aquatics program. I think, it's the only public pool that we have that services especially children that don't have backyards and pools, and I don't want to, I know this is also your...
As someone who grew up in the pools, I would go there to get away from my brothers. I'd have to walk a mile.
And sister.
And sister. And, thank you for considering.
I mean...
We'll have the discussion.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Right. So, anyone else have any comments? Councilmember Brahman.
I have, I guess, two questions. So one, I know we have two school resource officers that we provide to GUSD, one at Hoover and one at Glendale High School. What I would like to understand, I would like to know what that costs us and what we charge back to GUSD and how that compares to other agencies such as LA Unified School District, or being charged by LAPD or the county, if county sheriff's office is providing similar types of services to schools that are in county jurisdiction.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian, members of City Council, Councilmember Dan Brotman. With respect to what a fully burdened cost of a police officer is, for each one of those SROs, it's roughly $258,000. That is the full cost of what a police officer is. $258,000 per officer. Again, that is the fully burdened cost, including the benefit load. So we provide two officers, and that's approximately $500,000 or so in that ballpark. Glendale Unified School District, in the last 2 years, we had a 2-year contract with them. In the first year, they paid us $110,000. In the second year, they paid us $120,000, a total of $230,000 for a 2-year contract. So very much below what the actual cost is to us. I can't speak for LAPD because I'm not really sure what their costs are, but I do know that the Glendale Unified School District also pays for one SRO out of the sheriff's office for the La Crescenta area, covering 3 schools. And for that solo deputy, I believe they're paying somewhere in the ballpark of $250,000 annually.
Okay, thank you. I think this is something we should look at. I don't think in our current budget situation we can continue to subsidize the cost of these SROs.
And we are currently in negotiations with Glendale Unified School District. My staff is working with their staff, and I know at the higher level, Mr. Galanian is talking to the superintendent as well.
Okay. And then I was going to ask, I haven't heard and I haven't noticed any discussion on historic preservation. Are we making cuts? Are any of our programs there being affected by our budget discussions here?
Councilmember Ottman, not We didn't make it to the list of the cuts, but frankly, we did have a conversation around reducing, if not eliminating, that function, but it didn't make the list.
Do we know, could you, and if it's not available now, you can give it to us later, what our staffing looks like now? I know we have Jay, and I think Jay has an assistant. I'm not really up to date on what the staffing model is, what the cost is, and what other associated costs there are. I'd like to have that information.
Okay, we'll follow up with information on that.
And I think that'll be it.
Thank you. Councilmember Satori?
No, I'm okay. Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem, we have a clarification to make.
If I may, to Councilmember Asaturian, was told you it would take a couple minutes. It took a couple minutes. That position, the administrative analyst position, was reallocated to what is now the assistant to the city manager position. And during that same transaction, there was a position from a non-departmental, it was an unfunded, unfilled position that was allocated to the clerk's office for her operations. So we don't have a vacant administrative analyst. That position was filled as the assistant to the city manager.
Who also manages the...
Commission on Status of Women.
Right, CSW.
Who also manages economic development, who also manages legislative affairs, who also manages...
So those are the things that she is fully capable of doing, as I noted last time. If we need, the need arises, as you noted, we can definitely provide additional resources.
Okay, well, maybe we can take a look at some of those other staffing and see where we make some shifts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to shout out our administrative analyst, Ms. Mugradichan, who does many different roles, and it's not easy shifting focus to each one of those as you conduct your assigned duties. But thank you for your great work. Okay, I think that concludes our discussion. If there's no objection.
Just very quickly, our next step is June 23rd, budget hearing and adoption. I think we have received enough feedback from your council to make some small modifications, for example, like the pavement management program, the 185K, in the proposed budget for you to consider adopting on June 23rd. But if you have any more feedbacks, definitely communicate to the city manager, and we'll incorporate.
Okay, and just for the record, I do support option 2 for the pavement management as recommended by staff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.